African countries and their presidents and their capital for how much? Okay, look at you. Let's go. Alright, so this is a roll call of all African leaders. So if you're an African, rep your country in the comment section and let us know how your president is performing. Alright, so even if I don't mention all, we still take the call. Who they call? Don't play with me. Let's go. Nigeria's president is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The capital of Nigeria is Abuja. Ghana's president is John Dramani Mahama. The vice president of Ghana is Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and she's the first vice president of Ghana, female vice president. The capital of Ghana is Accra. Let's go. Benin Republic's capital is Port Novo. The president is Patrice Talon. Togo's capital is Lomé. The president is Faure Gnassingbé. He's the son of the late President Gnassingbé Nyadema, who led the country from 1967 to 2005. That family together have led that country for more than 50 years. Chad's capital is Jamena. The president is Colonel Mahatma Deby. He's the son of the late President Idris Deby. Cameroon's capital is Yaoundé. The president is Paul Biya. He's been there since 1982. Senegal's capital is Dakar. The president is Bashir Diomaye Faye. He succeeded the former president Macky Sall. South Africa's president is Cyril Ramaphosa. They have three capitals: Cape Town, Pretoria, and Bloemfontein. Let's go. Niger's capital is Niamey. The president used to be Mohamed Bazoum, but there was a military coup that took him out. Now the head of military government there is Abdourahmane Tiani. Gabon used to be President Ali Bongo Ondimba, but there was a coup that took him out in 2023. His father also led the country from 1967 to 2005 when he died. The current head of military government there is Brice Oligui Nguema. Sierra Leone's capital is Freetown. The president is Julius Maada Bio. Liberia's president is President Joseph Nyuma Boakai. The capital is Monrovia. Kenya's president is William Ruto. He succeeded President Uhuru Kenyatta. The capital of Kenya is Nairobi. Tanzania's capital is Dodoma. The president is Samia Suluhu Hassan. She succeeded the late President John Magufuli. Gambia's president is Adama Barrow. He succeeded the former President Yahya Jammeh. The capital of Gambia is Banjul. Tunisia's capital is Tunis. The president is Kais Saied. Algeria's capital is Algiers. The president is Abdelmajid Tebboune. Uganda's capital is Kampala. The president is Yoweri Museveni. He's been there since 1986. Let's go. Rwanda's capital is Kigali. The president is Paul Kagame. He's been there since 2000. Equatorial Guinea is Malabo. The capital. The president is Teodoro Obiang Basogo. He's one of the oldest heads of state in the world. He's been there since 1982, and his son is the vice president. Burundi's capital is Gitega. The president is Evariste Ndayishimiye. And Mozambique's capital is Maputo. The president is President Daniel Chapo. Botswana's capital is Gaborone. The president is Duma Boko. He succeeded President Mokgweetsi Masisi. Zimbabwe's capital is Harare. The president is Emmerson Mnangagwa. Angola's capital is Luanda. The president is João Lourenço. Egypt's capital is Cairo. The president is Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Morocco is a monarchy. The capital is Rabat. The king is King Mohammed VI and Prime Minister Aziz Akonoj. Malawi's capital is Lilongwe. The president is Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. He's a man of God with Assemblies of God. Democratic Republic of Congo, that is President Felix Tshisekedi. The capital is Kinshasa. They are fighting in DR Congo, Eastern DRC. Republic of Congo, the capital is Brazzaville. The president is Denis Sassou Nguesso. Guinea's capital is Conakry. The head of military government there is Mamadi Doumbouya. Guinea-Bissau's capital is Bissau. The president is Umaru Sissoko Embalo. Mali's capital is Bamako. The president is Assimi Goïta. That is the capital is Bangui. The president is Faustina Change Taudera. Libya's capital is Tripoli. It is headed by a military head of government. That is Mohamed Al-Menfi. Sudan's capital is Khartoum. It's also headed by the military Abdul Fattah al-Burhan. They are also fighting in Sudan. South Sudan's capital is Juba. The president is Salva Kiir Mayardit. Zambia's capital is Lusaka. The president is Hakainde Hichilema. Namibia's capital is Windhoek. The president is Nangolo Mbumba, but they have elected their first female president. That is Netumbo Nandi. Somalia's capital is Mogadishu. The president is Sheikh Hassan Mohammed. Comoros' capital is Moroni. President Azali Assoumani. Eritrea's capital is Asmara. The president is Isaias Afwerki. Djibouti's capital is Djibouti City. The president is Ismail Omar Guelleh. Eswatini is a monarchy. They have King Mswati III and Prime Minister Cleopa Dlamini. They have two capitals, that is Mbabane and Lobamba. Lesotho is also a monarchy. They have King Leslie III and Prime Minister Samata Kane. The capital is Maseru. Ethiopia's capital is Addis Ababa. The president, the Prime Minister is Abiy Ahmed. The president is Taye Selassie. Madagascar's capital is Antananarivo. The president is Andry Rajoelina. Cape Verde's capital is Praia. The president is Jose Maria Neves. Seychelles' capital is Victoria. The president is Wavel Ramkalawan. Mauritania's capital capital is Nouakchott. The president is Mohamed Ghazouani. Mauritius is an island. That is Prime Minister Ragolom. The capital of Mauritius is Port Louis. Burkina Faso is headed by the military. That is Captain Ibrahim Traore. The capital is Ouagadougou. Don't play with me. No rip me, make problem. No, the JC.